what you need to do. It's awesome.
Also want to say thanks for being here and sharing the activities. Just kind of a question, what is Hedgehog? I saw a couple of references to Hedgehog, but I'm not familiar with that.
So I'll give you the history. At Village Elementary, Bill Kane, when he was the principal, long time ago, brought in a hedgehog, a real one, and that became the school mascot. And I'll never bring in a real one. I'm good with it painted, but
He has a costume though,
Yeah,
so he
I
comes
do
in as
have-
the
I do
hedgehog
have-
sometimes.
I do have a costume, so I will wear that. It's staff purchased it for me. It's quite a sight. But it's stuck at Village. It's part of our tradition. Everything is hedgehog based. So
Thank you very much.
you bet.
Mrs. Youngs, I just appreciate, as a parent, the kids are very excited. They come home, they talk about it, they talk about who they have to talk to the next day and try to schedule an appointment with. I think it takes them outside of their box. It takes them outside of their comfort zone. A lot of these kids, mine included, don't like to speak in front of groups, and I think it gives them the safety of learning those key public speaking skills while having the protection of their classmates and in a controlled environment so that they can develop those and eventually feel comfortable in front of groups. So thank you so much. And I know that, Mrs. Wade is out there too, and Mr. Campbell can probably vouch for this, but there's a lot of chatter about it within the parents as well, and just loving how it's different kiddos every week, and they're getting some highlights. People are sharing it with their families, and so it's just very, very cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, Mrs. Youngs. It's such a fun activity, and we watch it over and over and laugh, and Village parent look forward to it, and we know when it's coming up. Mr. Eck, thanks for all you do for Village. It's such a special place, and we appreciate what you do there.
Great job.
I'll follow up with an email that has the link to actually all the episodes, so you can peruse those at your leisure. But thank you.
How often do they come out?
Once a week.
Once a week? Wow,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
The turnaround, I mean, you would never guess that 9-year-olds are.
Wow, that's great. That's a great job.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Hughes, as just a point of information, there's some indication that maybe potentially the video stream is not working? Okay, just wanted to make sure someone knew and was aware. Thanks.
All right. If anybody has any problems, they have to go to the live. Our computer just crashed.
Can they hear me out there? So if you're watching tonight, go to the live stream, and if you have friends that can't get in and they're texting you, tell them to go to the live stream. Thank you. All right, I'll leave the lights off for this part, because then I'll be going up there and turn them off anyway. I sent the Board of Education a proposal from Amman Consulting Groups. This is a follow-up to our transportation. We've heard loud and clear that transportation continues to be an issue, not only in Heartland, but around the county as well as around the country. Tim Amman, who leads this group, has done a lot of work in the state of Michigan. If you look through that document board, you'll see the districts they've worked with. The Livingston County Transportation Consortium actually used the Amman Group when we first did the consortium, or engaged in the consortium some 10 years ago. I don't even know how old it is. About 10 years? 2010, so 15, 14 years ago. Talked with Rachel and Matt, and I did talk with Tim prior to him providing the proposal that his company could engage with us on. We asked him to come into the school district and do a couple of things. Number one, are our wages, our salary and wages appropriate? are what we're paying our drivers appropriate for the time and the area and everything else? So they're going to assess that. Because what we've heard from some people in the community is, well, if you would post it at $30 an hour, you'll get more drivers. Well, the reality is the private transportation companies like Dean Transportation and Spirit and Law and whatnot, they can advertise next to our advertisements for $30 an hour. And then ours say, 22 whatever, up to 22 whatever, 97 or whatever that is, 87. But the reality is, when you look at the benefits, when you look at everything that comes with the package, it's about $35 to $38 an hour, where the other companies, it's just a straight hourly rate. There's nothing else that comes with it. Also, for our drivers, if they drive with us for 10 years, they get vested in the retirement system, and they get a retirement piece back on that, so they can collect a retirement from the retirement system. So there are some things that the general public don't know. I think I did a community life article where I tried to lay all that out to the community, as well as I've shared that in my community updates to our parents. So they'll come in and assess that piece of it. They'll also come in and assess the culture of our transportation department. They'll meet with our drivers, watch, just be around, and take in some information and give us a report on what they find in that environment. And so we did meet Matt and Sue Miller, and myself met with our lead drivers and let them know that we'll be partaking in this work. It was nice, however, to hear the lead drivers tell us when we were telling them about this, that they think the culture is fantastic and it's so much better than it's ever been. So that was a nice thing that we heard when we sat down with them last week to talk about this work that's going to be done. The other thing that they can do, which they are experts on, where other companies are not experts on, is routing. What does efficient routing look like? Now, you know that we tried to reduce routes this year by not going into every door-to-door pickup, not going down cul-de-sacs, trying to reduce the number of buses on the road, not trying to reduce drivers necessarily at all, but trying to use the drivers that we had, because really, we'd love to have a dozen substitute drivers. We'd like to have drivers that just come in every day, and we pay them 4 hours a day just to come in and be ready if we need them to drive that day, because we never know what we're going to get on call-offs and whatnot, which causes its own problem. The last thing this company we've asked them to do is also to be the spearhead of a survey to our parents on, if we're short drivers, what's that going to look like? Like the board knows and the community knows, at the beginning of the year, we tried to do double pickups for our shortest runs. The problem with that was that we were getting complaints from parents saying, it's always my child that's being impacted and they're being late to school and it's not fair. So we did the pause process. And that way everybody was affected equally for a week. But we tried to let the parents know 6 weeks in advance that the pause is coming, get ready for it because we're short drivers. Other districts have done things like when they're running routes or they're short drivers, take a 3-mile block around a school, a radius, and say no transportation for those people. Get your kids to school, we'll get to the outskirts of the district. And there are other solutions out there that may not be very palatable to parents. So this company will help us come up with some designs of what would that look like if we're short drivers, and how would we implement that and make sure everybody knows what we're doing ahead of time, if at all possible. Rachel, did I miss anything? So you also see that there's a price tag to this work. And the price tag is $33,600 to do this work. Now, we didn't do a proposal to the board. We can do, it's a service, so it's not necessarily fall under the threshold, but the board needs to know that we're moving forward to do this work. All right, so it'll take about 3 months once we sign and get some information back from this consulting group. So really, we're talking about the 25-26 school year. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And again, this will help the district from our side of the coin, being that we've had this expert look at all facets. So when things aren't going so well, here's might be the reason why, and here are some of the solutions and strategies that we're trying.
I just have a quick question.
Sure, go.
As part of the parent survey, process, will they perhaps hold open strategy sessions or open sessions where parents might come and like talk face-to-face with them? You know, while a survey is great and can hit everyone, just understanding that sometimes that verbal communication and that openness for them to understand, hey, I've seen best practice at 75% of districts throughout the state, and that's why we would recommend this as an option, or we've seen this, this, and this, you know, as an expert in the field, this is why. I think that would just be beneficial to include as part of that process so that it's a little bit more, I guess, bi-directional versus just one way.
Yep, we can work with them on that.
Mr. Hughes, so in the proposal that you had shared with us, they talked about working with other districts, including LESA and some others in the state. Have they shared with us what some of the outcomes were from some of those projects in terms of like quantifiable dollars or, you know, some of the efficiency improvements that we would expect? Is there anything that they shared with us, just
No,
just
they
to kind
have
of help
not.
validate their proposal, if you will?
They have not.
And did we check with any other consulting firms? I know you mentioned
Yes, we have another firm.
efficiency was an issue.
Yes, we have another firm that we've reached out to. Our understanding is they are not, we're going to talk to them again next week, I think, or even later this week, just to ask them that final question before we sign off on this one. So we'll see if they can, but our understanding is they don't have that efficiency and routing piece.
I want to thank you and your staff for getting this together and moving forward on it. I think is an excellent step for transportation, and appreciate you moving with that. So thank you.
Mr. Hughes, I know they don't present at a board meeting their findings at the end of this. Do they work with you at the end and walk you through their findings to make it easy to implement what they've determined is best, or do they give you an email or a binder? How does that work for their results?
They work with us. They share all this information with us. They'll sit down with us or Zoom with us. They're out of New Jersey, so the lead firm is out of New Jersey, but they have local people. But they'll be meeting with us, and then certainly we will do a presentation to the board, or at least a report to the board on what they find. Yep. All right, so I just want to share that with you so you're well aware of it. Next is my mid-year update, mid-year goals update. Now, I can do one or two things, so I'll leave this up to the board if you have. I've sent the packet. I've sent it out in the public packet so everybody has access to it. We can have a conversation with what you have in front of you, or I can do the presentation now at the podium. Is there any preference?
Speak for myself, but I would, you know, if you went and did it from the podium,
Sure,
I'd
that
be
works.
happy to.
but just
All right.
my opinion, but
Yep, not a problem.
thank you.
All right. So, public may have seen this before. Each year, I end the school year with what we call an evidence of effort report for the Board of Education. The board that have sat on the board have seen this, and maybe some of you new board members have seen this as well. Under the law, there were some changes in the evaluation of the superintendent, and one of the things that was added was a mid-year progress report. So in order to give the board some information that the board can do my mid-year progress report on based on these goals, here is the evidence of effort report. So we have these goals, and all the goals that you'll see in this presentation, the board is aware, but the public should be aware that these were worked with the board, and they were adopted, if I'm not mistaken, in October after some conversations and discussion at the board table. Finance goal, you'll see that this is the goal, and then there are some sub-goals. The first sub-goal was to earn an unmodified opinion on our annual audit. The annual audit is always a year late, right? Because the closeout And then in October, Plant Moran comes in and does a presentation to the board on what they find in our audit. And once again, we have an unmodified opinion, which is the best possible opinion for our audit. I would tell anybody that asks me, what are the two things people are looking for when they're choosing a school district? And I would say there are two really important pieces of information anybody moving into the district would want to look at. It's number one, how are our kids doing curriculum-wise? How are our kids doing on state assessments, right? They look at that, they compare to ours, to other districts. They want to see how we're doing. And number two, they want a fiscally sound school district. They don't want to go to a school district that's having trouble financially. And so these are really important to me as far as curriculum and finance. This one is a very important one to me as well. And I thank Rachel for all that she does in the business office to make sure that we're on top of this. We also developed a balanced budget, and so we want to make sure that we stay above 15%, which is about the threshold that the Treasury Department in the state of Michigan would like to see us at. Each of these goals has strategies that we're working with, and then, of course, assessment that will be important, most importantly, at the end of the year. We may not have us hit these assessments at mid-year, but we're going to try to hit them for sure by the end of the year. We have committee meetings periodically when needed. All of our committee meetings are when needed. We don't necessarily have a set schedule for committee meetings. It's really when they're needed. Again, our audit was unmodified, which is what we would want. We have a projected fund balance of 24%, which is above that 15% threshold that we're trying to always be thinking about. And then we always look at our budget to actual compared to last year at this time, and we do that work. And Rachel has some information later, usually in March or end of February, that we do a budget to actual, and we'll send it out to the board so you can see the categories of our budget and how we're compared to last year at this time. We did finalize a contract this year with our Heartland Consolidated Administrative Association, first agreement of its type in Heartland. We've done that work. And we made sure that we have followed policies 1410 and 1410-01 and distributed the same types of benefits within the contract with the administrators with these other groups that are non-represented by any other organization. We made sure we visited every school, as we do every year. We visit our teachers, we visit our staff, we invite our secretaries to come to these meetings, parapros if they wish to, and we talk about curriculum, we talk about the state of the district, and we talk about finances. We believe that our staff needs to know where we are financially each and every year. And so we try to keep our staff updated on that information, so we completed that. And again, we completed our audit. We started a new timesheet process this year. What we wanted to make sure is that we had the best possible way of having our employees check in and check out, not cumbersome, not paper heavy, but using technology. So we've done this. We have some pros there, and I won't read all the slides. You can read them. Certainly, we want to make sure that, most importantly, that we don't miss pay for our employees because timesheets weren't logged in on time, timesheets weren't taken care of. Technologically, they're instant, right? So we have that information available. We are working through bugs in the system, how it interacts with our current Red Rover subsystem. There are just some growing pains that we have to work through, but anytime you start something new, there's always growing pains. So we'll keep working the bugs out on that. That's finance. Moving on to building and site. Building and site, we want to make sure under the sub-goals, we wanted to complete 90% of our construction projects, which we are there. We have a couple that you'll hopefully approve tonight that are on the agenda to finish out our bond work that we had scheduled back in the bond package of 2020. We've worked with the secure education consultants. You might have seen earlier in the year, Brighton had reached out, and there was an article in the local paper about Brighton using this same company. We used it a few years ago, used some of our ESSER dollars to have this company come in and give us a plethora of safety suggestions, what we could do better to ensure safety in the district. And we've completed almost all of that, and I'll show you that in a minute. We've created priority lists for projects for the future. This board will be confronted with the potential of moving forward the sinking fund renewal in May of '26. So that work will be coming. So it's important that all of our public understands transparency is on our webpage. If you go to our main webpage, you can see every sinking fund dollar that has been spent since we passed the sinking fund, as well as you can see bond project updates. So it's extremely transparent to our public. Now, I always remind the public, you're better off with a sinking fund because a sinking fund is paying cash as you go with no finance charges. And so that's always part of the conversation with a sinking fund. And then, of course, looking at how are we doing completing our maintenance and technology orders. We want to make sure that our buildings are up to date, our buildings are taken care of, and our teachers have what they need to get the job done. The fact is, teaching and technology are married in today's world. You cannot do one without the other. So we have a great technology staff, Jason's one of them, to make sure that we're constantly on top of taking care of the needs of our staff. We do have building and site committees periodically when needed. We've completed bond projects in the past year. If you go to the high school, you'll see the parking lot was taken care of. You won't see a lot of the roof work because it's select and nobody's climbing around our roofs to see that the roof work has been done. Furniture has been ordered, technology replacements on the cycle, secure entrances and bus replacements continue to be part of in the bond. This summer, and again in front of you tonight, will be 51 building and a new field house for the high school main stadium, technology, continue with the buses, and some minor projects that we'll finish up in the bond, and then we'll be done with this 2020 bond project. This is an example of what you would see if you go to our website under sinking fund. This is year 8, so you would see year 1 through 8 up there right now. And so you can see that with the revenue that comes in, how we're spending that revenue. And these are some of the projects we've done with the revenue here in the school district just in year 8. And again, this money is good money because it's paying with cash and we're not paying any type of finance charges. There's year 9 projected. This is what we're thinking we're going to do with year 9. And then you can see here, our technology department has completed 98% of the tickets and maintenance 96% of the tickets. So to me, they're on top of things. So we have some replacement schedules. Next month, Mr. Usher will be at this podium sharing with you our technology, our current technology plan and what's happening this year with our technology. We'll have conversations of whether or not we're going to continue purchasing buses if we need to and any vehicle equipment replacements. We're just not there yet. This is the SEC safety. There were 56 recommendations by this group. We finished 50 of them. And so we're almost complete. We just got a couple of more things that we have to take care of. And I think periodically I have sent that out to the board just to keep you abreast of what we've been doing within that. So all the major things are done, just so you know. The safety things that we still have to do might be a core key in a classroom between 2 classrooms or something, but they're very minor. So all the big projects are done. Curriculum instruction, again, near and dear to my heart, not only as a high school principal when I was the high school principal here, but then as the assistant superintendent for curriculum. We know that this is really a big deal when it comes to parents looking at a premier school district. And as you know, we've done very well. So we continue to look at how to increase our growth in our cohort groups every year. We do have early benchmark assessments that we give our students. We look at how do they do in the beginning of the year, how do they do at the end of the year. We can assess growth internally. We also get information from the state of Michigan when our students take the Michigan state assessments on what 1 year's worth of growth is looking like in our school district. And so that's important to us. We have the MyKIP, which is our school improvement plan, and it's just a note there for the board and the public that We are continuing looking at that, and we want to see 10% worth of growth by 2028. However, in goal number 1, we kind of counter that with, we'd love to see it in 1 year. So, but ultimately, within our school improvement plan, it's by 2028. And then, of course, when we look at how we compare to other school districts, we would like to be at the 70% proficiency mark. Unfortunately, in the past, some people have narrated what 70% looks like in M-STEP scores. And they'll say, well, if it's an A, B, or C, a 70% is a C minus. Well, that's not true. You have to look at the students that we educate, and if 70% are hitting proficiency, that's going to put you in the top 10, 15% of the state of Michigan on assessment scores across the state. Now, yes, you'd love to have 100% students proficient, right? Back in No Child Left Behind, where they set the mark at 100%, it was totally unrealistic. It was never going to happen. The problem that we face with, which is a good problem, is that our kids are scoring really well. We want more and more of our assessments to be at the 70% rate. But once you're there, it's the energy and effort it takes to stay there. Once you're there, it's harder to stay there, right? Because you have to keep at it. Dave and I had this conversation this morning at his evaluation for mid-year evaluation about how hard it is to keep going forward and keep the pressure on to do the best we can for our students. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy. We can't let up. We do have curriculum meetings periodically. This year, the state of Michigan rated all of our school buildings universal, and what that means is that all of our school buildings are hitting all the threshold marks set by the state, benchmark set by the state, and we are not in need of any help from anybody. So as you look at their 4 assessment zones, universal means you're great, keep doing what you're doing. Then you get into, well, you need a little bit of help, you need to do some planning around help, or you need to go to your LASA, your local education service agency, or the state needs to come in and help you. Well, we don't ever want to get there, right? So we are very proud to say that all of our buildings are functioning, and the Michigan Department of Education is noting that. Our rankings, I share those regularly. And again, I remind the board and the public, you are not seeing much in this presentation that you haven't seen all year long in my community updates that I send out every week to the community, or in community life, or anything I send to the board. You're not seeing anything that's like, oh my gosh, I've never seen that before. Because we really work hard to make sure all of this information is shared with everybody in the school district. And when we think of transparency, that's what we think of. What are we doing? What does it look like? I've shared this again, U.S. News and World Report, again, where all of our schools are ranked very well. Our state assessment scores were fantastic this year. Second best score in the state of Michigan for science, grades 3 through 8. And over the past 5 years, which is to me the longitudinal data is even more important than the single yearly data, annual data. When you look at the past 5 years, our high school students, grades 3 through 11, including SAT, in English language arts, top 5%, math, top 5%, social studies, top 6%, and science, top 13%. We're only 3 years worth of science scores, and I think the first year we were at like 39% proficient, and we've made a big gain since then. So we took that seriously. We made sure that we have a science coach, Colin Costello, who's working with our science teachers, and we've made some big gains there. Annette McFarland is our instructional coach in math, and then we have Sarah Jemgen, who is our secondary coach, and we have Monique Alberts, who is our elementary coach. And we're continuing to make great strides there. So we're proud of our staff. Absolutely, we should be congratulating the work that they're doing, and of course, our parents and our students for their commitment to learning in Heartland schools. Graduation rate continues to be outstanding. You can see our high school average graduation rate is 98.4%, Legacy 74%, and HVA 93%. Personnel, We want to make sure that we maintain a fill rate of 98%, and I've been sharing that with the board periodically on where we're at as far as postings and what we filled. We wanted to train all of our administrators and teachers on the new evaluation standards, and we want to increase staff satisfaction on the staff satisfaction survey, which will come out later in the year. Again, strategies and assessments, and these again are posted in the packet for anybody in the community to take a look at. I won't read through all of them. Personnel committee meetings when needed. 100% of our administrators have met the training threshold for the new evaluation system. So that's a good thing, right? That's what we wanted to make sure we accomplished. School of choice, we continue to be open to school of choice students. We had 193 new enrollments this year, 19 more than last year, and we did add another 9 second semester. And I thank Ms. Gregory for all the conversations that you have with all of those families as you go. And Dave, I thank you too for all the curriculum work. I'm sorry, I missed you. I did mention that we talked about it though, right? All right. This just shows kind of where our students come from and where did they go. So you can see out of state, the left side is where did they go. The where did they come from is on the right side. Out of state 12 versus out of state where they came from 24. So that's kind of good. That's a good thing because Michigan's losing more students than we're gaining. So it's good to see that we lost 12 out of state, but we gained 24 from out of state. And because we're school of choice, the surrounding school districts, we compete for kids. We simply compete for kids. And so we're competing with Brighton and Fenton and Linden and Huron Valley. So those are listed here for people to see where our kids are going and where they're coming from. So through December, we have 47 positions that we've posted, 68% filled to date. Our new hires, you can see that we've had 18 new teachers hired this year and the affiliates, 11, and then other individuals that we've hired. We're still looking for bus drivers, by the way. So the bus drivers aren't on here because, again, we're with the consortium and they're actually hired through LESA. We try to keep track of what's happening with our students. And every year, this particular slide sometimes blows people away. They say, student expulsion hearings, do you expel that many students? No, we don't expel that many students. However, as the board has understood, and certainly what's been in place in this district since 2000 when I entered the district, is we are an intervention-based school district, which means when these types of behaviors occur, you will have an expulsion hearing. That means that it forces the parents to come in and work with the school and the school support services coordinator and Mrs. Gregory and talk about what happened, talk about what the issue is, and determine whether or not you're going to remain a student in Heartland schools. And then we make sure that we watch that data to see if there are any students that would violate this particular ordinance or their discipline rubric more than once, and what does that look like? So very seldom do we actually expel a student, but rest assured, we force their parents to be a part of the solution, and we think that's really essential to the student changing their behavior. These are just some common discipline infractions that we work with. Interestingly enough, dress code violations, boy, when I was a high school principal, I would think that would be the highest, and they're just not. I think people are dressing a little bit more, I don't know if it would be covered up or whatever, but certainly dress code violations are way down when I look at the data than when I was the high school principal. Also, as part of this goal, we're trying to keep our community aware of what's happening. I made a commitment to the board that we would engage in community meetings. We had one on August 8th to talk about transportation, one on September 27th, the DOJ agreement. I did the state of the township. The community was invited to come to that, and so I did that with the township, our partners in progress, so the township, the Crow Main Library, the Chamber of Commerce, and the district. Then on December 13th, I had a question and answer session, and I have another one coming up next week, I believe, for parents to come and sit down and just ask questions and seek answers to any concerns that they have. And I think that one's at 4:30 in the afternoon, so trying to change the times. Done 5 community life sections this year. Do a community update for the parents in the district. However, I wanted to note this to the public. All of our community members have access to the information I share with our parents. So if you're a member of the community that does not have a child in the school district, you can go and see all of my updates by visiting the Heartland School website. Go to the bottom of the page, click on Superintendent Update, and you get all of them. So they're archived there for anybody to go and see what's happening in the school district. And then we have the District Parent Advisory Committee meetings, and we've had 4 of those. And I thank our PTO representatives that come, sit down with me. We've solved some solutions in the past, and we'll continue to solve solutions in the future. So we have great conversations as I reach out to the parents, and they represent their buildings. And one of the things there is, all the people that come to DPAC are expected to take what we talk about back to all of the parents within the PTO and PACs in our buildings. So we talk about that pretty regularly. Their job is to take that back and share it. The DEI goal, we finalized the Department of Justice extended agreement, and then we certainly want to work on decreasing the number of race-based incidents in the district. Today,